my nose, kiss my toes, kiss my
pit, pit, pit.
The Odd Couple with Jack Klugman and Tony Randall is classic television comedy. This was one of my very favorite shows when I was a kid because of when it was on. I used to get a channel out of New York City called WPIX. We used to get that on cable all the way up here in upstate New York. And The Odd Couple was on every night, and I would always watch. It was a great nighttime lineup. You'd see The Odd Couple, the original Star Trek, Honeymooners, Twilight Zone, usually preceded by Yankees baseball at the time. Always a lot of fun, but The Odd Couple for me is the one that still holds my interest to this day. And I was trying to convince you to watch it, and you were kind of resistant for a while, and then you watched it.
And we've been like kind of binge watching it ever since.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you want to watch? You're like, can we watch a couple Odd Couples? And it'll turn from a couple of Odd Couples into like 5 Odd Couples, because they run about 25 minutes long each. And I have to say, this show, unlike anything that we've watched in the last 4 or 5 years, I laugh constantly and consistently throughout the episodes. These guys are consummate comedians and actors. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to laugh at it. I'm laughing at it even more now. I even know what's going to happen in every episode because I remember them, because I must have watched them multiple times. And I still laugh because of how they sell every bit that they do.
And I really like The Odd Couple. I really like Oscar. I think that he might be my favorite in a way, but I also like Felix a lot. But sometimes I just want to like...
Oh, you want to strangle Felix, right? And I mean, but that means he's playing his part really well. But I'm like you, I get so frustrated with Felix, and yet I'm a lot like Felix in some ways. Like I watch him, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that, you know? And I kind of feel bad. And I feel bad for Oscar. But the two of them together, I mean, what a great comedic pairing. And I know it was a stage play first, and then Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon played the characters in a movie, and then it was brought to series. I've seen the movie, and as much as I respect and like Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, Klugman and Randall are forever Oscar and Felix to me. I mean, they are Oscar and Felix. I can't not see them as those characters.
No, I can't either. I really like Oscar, and one of the things that I want to kind of hurt Felix in a way is because Felix is always like, please, can you do this one thing for me? You know how many things I do for you. And Oscar, if you look at Oscar's perspective, kind of no, he doesn't. He actually ruins a lot of things.
He does. And they are so immersed in the roles that you feel like the writing stopped, but the characterization didn't, because you can almost see where they might have improv things here and there because they were so into the characters. And, Gary Marshall created this. In fact, Penny Marshall plays Oscar's secretary in here before she was ever in Laverne and Shirley. And Al Molinaro plays Murray the cop before he was in Happy Days. And so it's a Gary Marshall production. He must have just known to have his directors let the cameras roll because these guys were going to come up with stuff. I'm almost positive there's a segment in one of the intros. They had several intros through the seasons. But, Oscar's drying his hands on the curtains.
Like he always does.
He washes his hands in the kitchen sink and he's drying his hands on the curtains. And Felix is standing there and he says something. And Oscar turns and he takes Felix's shirt and dries his hands, and Felix does a slow turn to the camera and just does a kind of a small hint of a smile and looks right at the camera. And you wonder if Klugman didn't improv it and Tony Randall just went with it and gave a take to the camera, and they kept it because it was comedy gold. I mean, it was just everything they do is great, and they're so sold into their performances. And interestingly, like, they've both played their own fathers in the show as well.
Yes.
Like Felix has played his father or his grandfather even, and Oscar played his father. And you kind of don't even, I mean, you see that it's them, but they're so good in those roles. It shows you how good an actor each one is, because they're completely different in those roles.
And even like, I even said it the other day, Oscar's hair was completely different when he was playing his dad. And I'm like, how does he do it so well?
But his character, both of their characterizations are completely different. I mean, especially when Randall's playing his grandfather. I mean, he's just so immersed in that character. You know, and they were both great actors, and they did things other than this. Like Jack Klugman was, of course, in 12 Angry Men, and he was in Quincy, the television show, and he was a very different character in Quincy. It's a serious character versus, you know, this sitcom comedy kind of thing. And Tony Randall was in a lot of Rock Hudson, Doris Day pictures. And they were both great in those, but this is the one vehicle which I'll always remember them in, and I think it showcased all their talents.
Yes, I really like this. I think it's really funny because Felix is kind of like a neat freak, but to the next level, and Oscar is just completely sloppy. And they make jokes out of that because anybody who sees Oscar's room is like, "Whoa."
Yes, you know. Interestingly, too, I think the show it ran 5 seasons. I think it could have run longer. I'm not sure why it stopped. It doesn't matter. It stopped. All the clothing and a lot of the references are from the 70s when the show was filmed and takes place. You've never once commented on how loud or wild the clothes are, or like those shirts and ties that they wear, the combinations. You've never commented on it, and that said to me, wow, that's how good the writing is, that's how good the storylines are, that's how good the acting is, because you've never seen clothing combinations like they wear in this. No. And that was the style of the 70s. They're very trendy. They're wearing the styles of the 70s. Mm-hmm. And you've never once pointed it out, and neither has Colton. Colton is 6, and he likes this show too. He walks around going, "There's pits, pits, pits in my juice, juice, juice," right. Which is a famous scene from this. He's quoting scenes from this constantly. He loves it. And neither one of you have pointed out the wild clothing, and it's like, well, obviously you don't even see that because you're so involved in these guys.
The only thing I think I've ever said to you is I thought they were wearing dress shirts under their bathrobes.
Yes, because they're pajamas. They wear the old school pajamas that button up, which you don't see very often because most people now, you know, wear a t-shirt and sweatpants or something like that as pajamas. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing you have pointed out. But it was incredible to me. I'm looking at the tie and the shirt and going, wow, we used to dress like that, and you haven't even pointed it out once. And that tells me how good the show is, because that's not a distraction to you. If I had one criticism, it has nothing to do with the show at all, but it has more to do with CBS. They have cut and edited these shows up so much because they didn't want to pay the royalties on music that was involved in the shows. And you can't even see all the episodes of the series because certain episodes, if they cut the music, there would be nothing left of the episode. So you can't see the series, all the episodes of the series, nor are you seeing a lot of the episodes as a whole episode because they have cut it and edited it so badly. I'm still enjoying it, but I'm very frustrated because there's a point where, you know, Oscar's wedding night in the army barracks, mm-hmm. Outside the army barracks, Felix and Murray are out there, and Murray's playing the harmonica, and I remember Felix sings. He sings this song, and it's hilarious. And Blanche reacts to it and everything else. And they just took his singing right out, and I think they put different harmonica music in. They just dubbed it over. And, there's other parts where we're watching an episode, and it's a huge jump cut, or it just blacks out. In fact, I guess one of the final episodes, it just blacks out. And that's it, and we don't even get to see the end of it. So I think CBS is shortchanging a piece of TV history, and a great piece of TV history, and I think they should rethink that. I'm sure a lot of people would like to own this series in whole, and they should just pay the royalties on it because your generation and Colton's are loving this from what I've seen, and I didn't sell it to you, I just showed it to you.
Mm-hmm. You actually kind of forced me to watch it. You really wanted me to watch it because I think I watched...
No, when we say forced, I begged you to watch it the first time, but I didn't try to push it or sell it to you.
No, that's the only thing. You tried to kind of get me to watch the first episode, and I kind of liked it, so I wanted to watch more. And I think the characters are the best part of this, and plus what they're doing with it. Like, Felix is afraid of planes, so Oscar's trying to push Felix to go on the plane, and after that everybody's hitting Felix.
Exactly.
And it's super funny and it's super fun,
and they're these just basic common situations that they're able to bring to a level of comedy that you just wouldn't expect them to be able to wring that many laughs out of a simple situation. And these guys, they played off of each other so well. And they stayed friends throughout their lifetime. I mean, they did television commercials together, and they even came back and did a live stage play as Oscar and Felix later in life. And of course, Jack Klugman, who plays Oscar, he had an operation on his throat, so his voice was kind of raspy at that point. Didn't matter. They were still great in the roles. People still loved them. And, you could see that they really got along well. And something else that's really fun to see is to watch the outtakes and the bloopers. Yes. They're on YouTube. You can find them there. They're a lot of fun. I had edited a couple of those that you couldn't watch, but because that Tony Randall, he's a pistol. But he'll say things, and you could tell Jack Klugman has no idea where he's going to go with it. But you got to see the other ones, and they're a lot of fun.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so, other than to see it.
All right. Definitely a see it. Definitely a see it.